Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another edition of the Allied Rivals podcast. Have a fun time today. We're going to talk about the news and everything going on, and let's get right into it. After this ends. And ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode, another edition, another chronicle in the one and only Roto Hackers podcast. My name is
Podcast. My name is Cademan.
Wow.
And that is AJ Herschel, the kid from Roto Hackers podcast.
I'm sorry. I completely forgot where I was for a hot second. Oh my goodness. I've done that one so many times. I'm sorry. I messed that up.
No, you're good. You're good. That's pretty
We're
funny.
the Allied Rivals people, not the Roto Hackers. That's a different podcast that you should check out. But we're the Allied Rivals. Cademan, how are you doing today?
It's been pretty good since I last saw you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like physics. I'll just throw that one out there. But the rest of the school's going good, and sports are still going, so I'm happy.
Nice.
How about you?
Good. The world's seeming to get back to normal, fortunately. I messed up my arm a little bit playing NHL 2K11 yesterday on the Wii. But other than that, I'm doing all right. I'm doing well. We got a lot of stuff today. We haven't gotten to talk about in previous episodes, but this should be a fun one. I think so. For those of you watching, we're gonna hit in order. We're gonna go NBA first, then we're gonna go NHL, MLB, and we'll finish with NFL. If you want to go check out our other episodes that we've done recently, we delved more into the NFL last week, and then earlier this week we talked about the NBA playoffs, and that's where we're going to start. The second round is continuing. Toronto is playing the Celtics in Game 4 right now. Boston is up on the series 2-1 currently. I believe the score is, if it'll ever load for me, 35-27. Toronto's got the lead. 10 minutes left to go in the second period.
Yep.
Cademan, if you're Toronto, what do you need to do to win?
You need to, first not give up, which is what they've been doing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But really, you just need to stop Jason Tatum because then it puts an extra load on all the other guys, if you know what I mean. So, obviously you have to stop Brown too, because and Kemba Walker, because if you stop Tatum, Walker comes really steps up.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to take them both at the same time, and then you just gotta be smart with your offense. Don't take shots, which is what the Bucks were doing yesterday. But
Yep. Other series is Nuggets and Clippers. The Clippers, it started out close, but the Clippers rolled easily, held the Nuggets to under 100 points. Clippers are up 1-0. And shocking, the Rockets actually went up 1-0 on the Lakers. Why do you think this is? Is it Rockets taking advantage of LA? Is it LA needing a week off? What do you think?
I'm going to hope that the Lakers lose 3 games in a row. And then maybe win 4, like the Bucks I hope to do.
Yeah. All right. I think
James Harden and Russell Westbrook were phenomenal, passing the ball around great, being smart with their shots, not taking ridiculous fouls.
Mm-hmm.
They really outdid the Lakers that game.
Yeah. My one concern for Houston is the way that LA, they talked about it afterwards. They're like, now we know how to play Houston, which could completely be a bait, or they literally could have used this as an informational game, because we remember they dropped game 1 to Portland, and they're of course 2 completely different teams, the Rockets and Portland. Yeah. One's got Lillard, the other one's got Westbrook and Harden, but I don't know, maybe a little bit overconfidence from the Lakers there. We'll have to see. And now I know you've got a lot of personal feelings about this, so I want to get your unedited, unfiltered Cademan Bauer thoughts. The Bucks had the lead in game 3 after 3 quarters over Miami, then got outscored 40-13 in the 4th. Say whatever you need to. Go ahead.
I mean, I was watching the game, just like the score, how it's going, and I was like, man, Giannis is starting off slow. Like, he only scored 7 points in, I think, the first half, or maybe something like that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, of course, you had Chris Middleton doing really well, and Brook Lopez actually did really well overall. But it was just like they were winning. They had the most points every – they had the best stats the first, the second, the third quarter, and they were playing really good defense. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, they're making a ton of stupid fouls, and they're taking only 3-pointers, really. And it just kind of got messed up. And then the Bucks only scored 13 points that quarter, and the Heat scored 40 or something. So that was really disappointing because the Bucks were doing so well, and all of a sudden they just dropped it. Everyone was fouling. It was terrible. Yeah.
So, Caden, what do the Bucks have to do to win Game 4?
I wish I could know. I think Giannis has to score better than what he's been. I mean, he scored 18 the first game, I think. He didn't do much better yesterday. He has to have the big first quarter, like I said last episode, if the team really gets pumped up. But also, you can't just let it sink in the fourth quarter. It's one thing to be playing bad defense. It's another thing to be making endless fouls, over and over again, which is what the Bucks were doing. So they just need to be more careful, honestly. And I think that would change the whole game because, I mean, that's what they were doing the first 3 quarters. And then they just, I don't know. Something happened and it didn't work.
Yeah. Lightning Bauer, he says he predicts a Bucks comeback. What do you think, Kate? Are they able to do it?
If the Cubs could do it from
3-1,
the Bucks can do it from 3-0.
Okay.
Giannis has the amazing first quarters.
Yeah, well, it does. I do want to ask you then, Giannis is questionable right now. He apparently was limping really bad after the game. He said it wasn't a problem during the game, but afterwards it really hobbled him. Do you think he's going to be ready to go? And if he isn't, do the Bucks have a chance?
I mean, I don't think they're going to go. I think they could win 1 or 2. If they're really lucky 3. That would be amazing. But I don't think they're going all the way. And so I'm guessing that he's going to play.
Okay.
If they win the first game, he's going to play the next game. And if they keep winning, if they win, you know what? I bet if they win the first game, tomorrow, they'll pull him out of game. And that'll probably be just it. I doubt he's going to just try to play through all of it. Even though usually questionable does mean they're going to play. It did seem serious enough, by the looks of it, that he was actually really hurt. So
yeah, I think this is just completely my personal belief about this. The Bucks are good, but in my opinion, they're not built to handle the NBA right now. I think they were built to handle the NBA 3 years ago, but not now. I feel like this is, to me, and this is why, this is going to sound really confusing, but to me, they're the new Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron. You have one star, one had LeBron, one had Giannis, MVP caliber players. After that, you had very, very good role players. Chris Middleton, Kyrie Irving, J.R. Smith, Eric Bledsoe. And then, you'd have a couple people just come out and play well. Brook Lopez, Matthew Dellavedova, Kevin Love. They each had good supporting players under them. They're actually, the more I say this, the more similar it gets. You have a star, good role players, and a decent bench. I don't think they're built to win in this NBA because the East has caught up to LeBron's former Cavs where everyone used to be just absolute garbage unless you were the second best team. Miami, Boston, Philadelphia's in and out. In my opinion, to be competitive in the NBA nowadays, you need 2 studs. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, even Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker. And I don't know how Jimmy Butler's doing it. Total credit to Bam Amadeo. He had a double-double last game, 20 points, 17 rebounds. Or 16 rebounds. And great defense on the Bucks, especially on Giannis that game. But it just, in my opinion, for the Bucks to be a very, very good contender, you need a second stud.
I think that they would have gone, like they would have won it if COVID hadn't hit. Like if it had a big break, because they were looking so good, like better than they were last year, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it seemed like a better bench, a more complete team, even without Brogdon. Like they seemed better.
Yeah. It would be close between them and LA because they really got messed up by COVID. The Clippers hit their stride right as COVID happened.
I know.
And it messed them up for the first few weeks. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Game 4, Miami versus the Bucks tomorrow afternoon. I'll just really, unless you got anything else you want to say about the NBA real quick.
Nah, I think I'm all good there.
All right. Well, I'm sad because the Vancouver Canucks couldn't beat the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 7. It was a good series by them, but Vegas, their offense is it's just insane. They put up like 50 shots a game. And thus, Dallas, the Stars, are going to be playing Vegas. Meanwhile, Tampa is waiting in the conference finals for the winner of, I believe, tomorrow's game. It's today. New York Islanders and Philadelphia Flyers. Winner of that game gets to go play Tampa, who's had a week break. Very interested to see what happens there. MLB, we are 2/3 of the way through the season. The Dodgers are 30-10, 40 out of the 60 games down. And according to 538, Dodgers, Rays, A's, Braves, Astros, Indians, White Sox, Twins, Cubs, Yankees, and the Padres all have a 99% chance or better of making the playoffs. It's crazy to think we're in the home stretch already. Caden, what do you think of the MLB right now? Like, any players jump out to you at all?
I mean, Charlie Blackmon is doing way better than I thought he would. Just
tapered off from his huge start.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, he's still doing really good, and he's just like one of the players that shocked me. Also, the Sox have you said. I thought they would need a year to gel, and it's obvious that it only took like a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that stand out to me. But I mean, obviously the Sox and the Indians are still pretty close. So
for me, it's probably, first off, I'm very excited that Yu Darvish is back to form. He leads the league in wins. 7-1. He's putting up Cy Young type numbers, 11 strikeouts in his last game. Really excited about him. Obviously, as a White Sox fan, I'm super hyped that we're actually potentially going to win. Max Fried thinking 6-0, I think, in Atlanta. I think he's on the mound today. He's been on fire. Those are probably the things that stuck out to me the most. And it's weird looking at some teams like, oh, they're 28 and this. Oh, they're 20 and this. That's so close. And then you think they're almost done with their season.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Hey, I need to add one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hater set the record for no hitting outers. Yeah. 12 games.
Yeah.
Go Josh.
There you go. There were some at the MLB trade deadline, there were a couple things. The Marlins got outfielder Starling Marte, which was interesting to me. The Brewers shipped David Phelps to Philadelphia. Gio Gonzalez still hurting from his groin injury for the White Sox. Not great there. The Cubs landed designated hitter Jose Martinez and 3 relievers, Josh Osich, Andrew Chafin, and I'm excited because Pedro Strop is back, and I love Pedro Strop, man. The A's made it through a coronavirus scare. Mets got Todd Frazier, and they also got Miguel Castro, Robinson, Chirinos. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry, Robinson. And then the other ones, A's got Mike Minor and Tommy La Stella, one of the hardest people to strike out in the MLB. And the biggest one, in my opinion, Austin Nola and Mike Clevinger from the Indians go to the Padres. Cademan, do any of those stand out to you at all?
You know what? I mean, the Padres, Mike Clevinger, just because they've been doing so good.
Yes.
Really surprised me. But just they're picking up so many guys. Like they're just going to be so loaded next year. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. The Padres so good.
I know. It's the first time in a long time they've been this good.
Yeah, and it's partly, I think, because of COVID.
Really?
I think so.
Interesting.
I think that they would not keep this up for a regular long season.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I could be totally wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah. Another interesting thing, Philadelphia trying to fight for a playoff spot. They're at 91% right now. They've gone 9-1 in their last 10. Bryce Harper and Jake Arrieta. I know Jake Arrieta is not having his best season, but just throwing that name out there. Right now, leaders in each of the divisions. Tampa, White Sox, half a game up on the Indians. Oakland, Atlanta, Chicago Cubs, and the LA Dodgers. Cademan, any specific division that stands out to you that you want to talk about for a minute?
Sure. I'll just take the NL Central.
There you go.
So obviously the Cubs have been doing really good, like really, really good. I mean, they've slowed down a little bit compared to like their really great start, but they're still really hot right now. It's really fun. Well, I shouldn't really say fun, but it's been really interesting to watch the Brewers, the Cardinals, and even the Reds all competing for the second spot in the division. Yeah. And, I mean, the Brewers have it right now, it looks like, but it's so close. It changes, like, so often. What is really interesting, though, is that the Cubs and Cardinals are in a series. Yeah. So, I mean, I personally would like to see the Cubs win it.
Thank you.
Because the Cardinals, that means the Cardinals drop.
Oh, yeah.
Drop down, and then that secures the number 2 spot for Milwaukee.
Well, it doesn't secure it, but it makes it better.
It makes it way better. Way better.
Yeah.
I mean, if St. Louis swept the Cubs, wait, did they already have a game?
No, Darvish outdueled Jack Flaherty. Yeah.
If the Cubs win if the Cardinals win the rest of them, then the Brewers still aren't in first necessarily. Yeah. So no. I'd like to see the Cubs win it.
Yeah, me too. And I remember last year it was I was like, look, we're both fighting for a wild card spot, but can we agree that we'd rather see Brewers or Cubs over the Cardinals? Easy. Yes. Easy. Hate St. Louis. There we go. St. Louis is currently sitting at that last wild card spot in the NFL postseason NL postseason slot. They're a couple games up on the Rockies, who have really cooled off. But that's the status of baseball right now. Anything else you want to say?
All good here.
All right. We got a comment really quick.
Got a comment?
I do not know how to pronounce that name. I'm sorry. But which football player do you think is better? Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Robert Lewandowski, Neymar, or Ampeva? What do you think?
So why don't you take this one, because I'm not suited to answer this.
Okay.
Probably Messi.
For me, it's tough. I'll be quick about this, as I know you don't know soccer as much. For me, Lionel Messi or Lewandowski. Ronaldo is great, and so is Lionel Messi. They're both some of the best people with ball control in the league, great shooting ability, but Lewandowski's just been on a tear, scoring every time, left and right. He touches the ball, it goes to the back of the net. So I would say the best player right now, Robert Lewandowski, then Leo Messi, Ronaldo, and then after that, I don't know after that, but I would say Lewandowski. Thank you for that comment. I'm sorry I don't know how to pronounce your name, but thank you for that. And now we'll finish off with some NFL news.
NFL.
We'll breeze through the smaller ones really, really quick. Patriots ended up cutting Mohamed Sanu, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Patriots in a little bit. But that leaves Edelman and N'Keal Harry and Matthew Slater as the first 3 wide receivers on New England's roster. Take that as you will. Raiders ended up cutting Prince Amukamara and Demarius Randall. Interesting there. They must be good with their cornerbacks. Titans cut Trevor Siemian. Josh Rosen released by Miami. Cowboys released former Packer and former Bear, Clinton Dix. Makes me wonder if they're trying to get room for Earl Thomas. Just a personal thought there. Other than that, Joe Mixon, couple extensions in the NFL. Lions extended offensive lineman Taylor Decker. I think that's huge. Bengals extended Joe Mixon for 4 more years. That's big for him. And Deshaun Watson, Keenan Allen, and Tre'Davious White all got extended. Tre'Davious, 4 years, $55 million guaranteed, could go up to $80 million. It's
That's
crazy.
a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of extensions, Chiefs fans, I hope you like Reed and Mahomes because you'll be seeing them for at least the next 6 years. Andy Reid and general manager Brett Veach each got extended through 2025.
Ooh.
I mean, you have 3 great years back to back to back. One where your quarterback's an MVP and then you win the Super Bowl. Yeah. You get there. You get a contract extension.
Yeah.
College football also, by the way, is back. Austin P and Central Arkansas got us started. UAB also beat Central Arkansas. I'm probably the only one excited about that, but Georgia plays on the 23rd, so I can't wait for that. Oklahoma Sooners are starting freshman quarterback Spencer Rattler. Really, really interesting. Also for Georgia, Jamie Newman opted out of the season. Makes me a little bit worried this is going to be an off year. Also, the NFL is deciding not to test for COVID on game days. Cademan, thoughts?
I like this just because it means, I mean, there's a ton of thoughts about this, but I think that it's good because it's probably not going to matter that much whether they're playing in the game or not, if they have COVID or not. Like, I don't think it'll make much of a difference, and I think it'll be good for the teams in general.
Yeah. Yep. I think for me, as a guy who does fantasy football, this is nice because now I know they're not going to get COVID tested 10 minutes before the game and come back with a positive. So it's nice for me as a fantasy owner. And I think it's better for teams because they won't have to make a sudden adjustment with 2 minutes to go. Other news, Logan Ryan signed with the New York Giants for $7.5 million. I think that's big. This is a top defensive back, and the Giants they're one of those mediocre, low-tier defenses, in my opinion. I think this is definitely going to help their secondary.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon. Sorry.
I was going to say, also we have Josh Gordon. He re-signed with the Seahawks. So that's big. I mean,
it's interesting to me because he'll be playing third fiddle now that Metcalf's there and he's got an established role. And Gordon didn't have a bad season last year. Kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, so hesitantly. He got like less than 500 yards, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'd say it's not going to be a huge deal, but I mean, it's going to be, of course, a help if like DK Metcalf gets injured or something. It's going to be, yeah.
I think the biggest thing for him, I mean, part of the reason why he didn't have a great season last year, especially in the playoffs, he was suspended again for violating the NFL's PED thing. But I know he's had problems with that. I know he's trying to get off of that as well. It must say something to his skill to me that after all of this history with struggling with it, the Seahawks still signed him. That tells me that there must be some talent that Pete Carroll sees that he wants on his team.
Must be.
Yep. Last few pieces of news before we get to the big ones. Vikings signed Yannick Ngakoue. I think that's huge. Him and Danielle Hunter left and right end. The Vikings defense just got that more fearsome. I'm I mean, not happy about it as a Bears fan, but from a statistics standpoint, I think that's really curious. I think that's a good pickup for Minnesota. And also, this one's going to hurt all you LA Chargers fans. Derwin James always struggled with injuries. Now he's out for the season with meniscus surgery. What do you think, Cademan? The guy can't stay healthy.
If he can't stay healthy, it, in my opinion, isn't going to be too big of a deal because you still have a pretty good secondary without him. Like you have corners. I'm not sure about the safety, but I'm sure they can move one of their corners to safety, and they'd be fine for at least a while. So I don't think it's too big of a deal. I think if he just can't get healthy at all, like in the next 1 or 2 seasons, he needs to go.
It's interesting because he's absolutely a talent. He's absolutely great at what he does. And Casey Hayward and Chris Harris Jr., great cornerbacks for LA. I think we'll probably either slot Desmond King at safety, maybe switch him with Chris Harris, put him at corner instead. I think this definitely hurts the Chargers because you went from an absolute star to a good cornerback. I mean, no matter how good he is, it's still a downgrade.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is he's so young. He's 24.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think it'd be smart for him if he just took like 1 year to just rest completely and still somewhat practice with the team to make sure he stays in shape. I don't know, make sure he knows the plays, but I think he would benefit a lot if he took just like a year break or even like half a season break.
Yeah.
Because he does get injured a lot. But he's so good. So it's not worth it, in my opinion.
Other big news. The Redskins released Adrian Peterson out of the blue. So to you, what does this mean for Washington's backfield? What does this mean about AP? What do you think?
I mean, obviously Adrian Peterson's getting old. He's nowhere near what he used to be. So, I mean, it wasn't like a huge – like when he was playing for the Vikings, if the Vikings would not have given him enough money, that would have been a big deal. Right now, no. I mean, Peterson's old. I don't think he really cares too much. I don't know. It'd be like a lot of teams have said that they're going to try to go for him. He totally could just not play it all, though. But what do you think, AJ?
I think this, to me, says a lot about Washington and what they think about their backfield because Bryce Love, Antonio Gibson, they must like what they have. Maybe Ron Rivera knows something that none of the rest of us do. And my thing with Washington is I talked about this more on Roto Hackers too, is that I don't trust their O-line. They can't stay healthy. Trent Williams couldn't stay healthy when he was there. Their offensive line isn't good at all. I don't know. They must see something they like in Gibson or Love, but Peterson, I don't even know if he's going to go somewhere soon because I think this could be another Devontae Freeman situation. This time, not because of injury, but because of age. And then someone's going to go down the season in the NFL. That's when either AP or Devontae gets picked up.
And he could just totally retire. I don't think he will, but he totally could.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a Hall of Fame caliber resume already.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. And I think that Antonio Gibson will step up. Like, I think he is going to be good, but it's also going to put a lot of pressure on the passing game for Alex Smith and, I mean, Cody
Dwayne Haskins is starting, remember?
Which may be good. How do you look at that? Maybe
I don't know.
I mean, it's just I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I don't think it's going to be too bad because they still have 2 at least solid running backs.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because what's his name? Love has never really stood out in the NFL so much, and Gibson's had no NFL experience. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. And speaking of Washington, I mean, Dwayne Haskins has got the starting nod over Alex Smith. What do you think? Do you agree with this decision? Not agree with this decision?
It's hard to say because, like, looking at their stats from last year, I mean, it's like it's iffy because
Alex Smith didn't play last year.
I meant 2 years ago, 2018.
Gotcha. Yeah,
it's all messed up. Like Dwayne Haskins only threw 7 touchdowns, but 7 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like seeing that.
Yeah. Well, granted, he only played 9? He only started 7 games, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess, but that's so bad. Like 7 interceptions for 7 games and 7 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't look good to me. I mean, Alex Smith has more experience. He's always just been kind of mediocre. I mean, he has been really good in some years, but in my opinion, he's always just kind of stayed in general mediocre. So I would think it's safer to keep Alex Smith as my starter, but maybe they see something in Dwayne Haskins. Just, I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
I wouldn't have done it for sure. Like I would have kept Alex Smith just because he's never been like really, really good, but he's never been really, really bad either. And I think that's where they're taking a risk. Like they could see Dwayne Haskins being really good, or there's a chance he could be really bad. So.
Yeah. The interesting thing to me about this is that Alex Smith, he's been in the league since 2005, so he's not getting any younger for sure. He's coming off a really bad leg injury, and granted, people are saying he looks great. And I think Alex Smith, I've always considered him an above-average quarterback. I've never considered him great, like, top tier. But he's carried his team to playoff wins before. I think he's an above-average quarterback, especially we saw his 1 year in Kansas City, 2017. He threw for 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns. 20%. So I think he's definitely good. I think his problem, especially last year he played, he's in Washington. And I think the same goes for Dwayne Haskins. He's in Washington. And last year they had Terry McLaurin, a bad offensive line, Adrian Peterson, who was banged up all year, and that was it. And Darius Geis, who also couldn't stay healthy. To me, the Washington football team, my bad. Washington is bad, especially last year. They were bad. Somehow, I don't know, maybe this is Haskins, maybe it's the defense. They got wins over the Lions, Packers, almost knocked off the Packers. Got wins over the Lions and Carolina last year. Without Haskins, the Redskins, the Washington football team won 1 game. With Haskins, they won 2. I don't know what to say about it. I guess it makes sense that you'd want to get your rookie more experience, but they're destined to be at the bottom of the NFC East again. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because what they must be trying to do is just kind of slowly rebuilding their team, but keeping like the older players. It's weird. I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. 4 more pieces of news, and then we'll be finished here. First of all, Jadaveon Clowney is expected to sign with the Titans. This is huge.
Hey.
This is huge to me, but I'll let you start. You can go ahead. What do you want to say about this first?
Okay, so yeah, he's like at his prime or at his peak, because I don't know what the difference is, but he's like one of the best DNs in the league. And even though like last year he only had like 9 sacks. But he still had the 4
I think he had 3 last year. Didn't he? Am I wrong about that?
Maybe I'm looking at. Oh,
he had 3
right. 3. I was looking at someone else. 3 sacks. That's terrible. But I mean, he still had 4 forced fumbles and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, and whenever like he still puts so much pressure on the quarterback. Like even without stats. He's still there. He's still putting pressure all the time. He's getting like assisted tackles all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's good for Tennessee if they sign him, which they're expected to. So,
yeah. And I know NBC Sports said the deal isn't completely done as of right now, but if he goes to Tennessee, to me, this is huge. Not only are they getting a premier defensive end who, I mean, technically he's still in his prime. He's only been in the league for 6 years. His stats last year, like base stats, tackle sacks, not great. But his hurries, his quarterback pressures, quarterback knockdowns, those were great. 10 plus in all of those, 20 plus in some of them. And this is a Titans defense that was like sneakily good last year. Like they kind of flew under everyone's radar. But this year, Malcolm Butler, Adoree Jackson, Kenny Vaccaro, Vic Beasley, Rashaan Evans. Now you're getting Jadaveon Clowney. This Titans defense is underrated, and I think that this is going to help Tennessee a lot if they actually land him. We'll finish off with 2 quarterbacks. Before we get to that, we didn't get to talk about Leonard Fournette getting released by Jacksonville, and we didn't get to talk about him getting picked up by Tampa. So, Caden, let me ask you this. What was your first reaction to him getting released by Jacksonville, and then what was your reaction when it was announced Tampa signed him?
I wasn't sure what to think when Jacksonville released him, so maybe we'll have more thoughts on that. But when the Bucks signed him, my first reaction was, you know what, this is going to be a huge help for Tom Brady. Like, this is going to be really great. Like, he may have been struggling. Like, I mean, he wouldn't have struggled for sure. But now with Leonard Fournette, one of the most solid, one of the most complete wide receivers in the league.
I think you mean running back.
I mean running back. I'm sorry. My mind is just gone tonight. So,
it happens.
But I mean, he had great stats last year, so it's interesting to think like why exactly the Jaguars got rid of him, because he had 1,600 all-purpose yards last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, still only the 3 touchdowns because Jacksonville couldn't get in the end zone. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it could totally change with Tom Brady. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with him.
Mm-hmm. I think Fournette's going to be a great piece in Tampa if he picks up the offense well. I mean, I know Rojo's there. I know Keyshawn Vaughn, they just drafted him. And I know that they got Shady McCoy. Which happened. But Leonard Fournette is a great running back. And, yeah, to your point, if you're Jacksonville, you think, why did we let him go? And, look, I know that he was having problems with the front office. They declined his 5th-year option. Fournette asked for a trade. He didn't get any of that. So I thought this was going to be a begrudging last year. Fournette was going to go all out this year and prove to everyone, hey, I'm worth the money that you're going to want to pay me. Next year, what I didn't see was Jacksonville just outright dropping him. And so I was very stunned. Tampa, I love where he's going. Tampa as a team just got even more complete because now instead of an old running back in Shady, a rookie in Vaughn, and Rojo as your starter as maybe a little bit inconsistent but decent running back. Now you have Rojo and Leonard Fournette. More depth. I like Tampa Bay a lot this year. If he picks up the offense, I think it's going to be a fun time with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, and I mean, with the Buccaneers, just one more thing. The only competition they have is the Saints.
Yeah.
And if they lose 2 games... They lost 2 games, and there's not much more they're going to lose. So it's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. So last 2 pieces of news for us today. First off, they're both quarterback news. First off, the Patriots named Cam Newton Superman as the starting quarterback for Week 1 versus Miami. Thoughts?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously – not obviously, but he only had like 2 weeks or so to learn the Patriots offense. But he beat out Jarrett Stidham because he gets injuries a lot. It is going to be interesting because Cam Newton really hasn't played football for like a year or more. So I don't really know what to expect. But, of course, he has Julian Edelman, N'Keal Harry. So he should have some good solid players he can work with. So that's my Cam.
Yeah,
I predicted he was gonna be starter. By the way.
Yeah, I thought initially I wasn't sure who was going to be starter, initially because Stidham is a guy they drafted. He's a guy who's known the offense for a year. But then once reports started coming out that he'd had leg issues, that's when I was kind of like, okay, so Cam's going to be the starter now, right? If he hadn't beat out Stidham at that point, there would have been a major problem. And I know the reports out of camp have been Cam's inconsistent, but decent. He's picked up the offense decently well. What worries me for the future is that I feel like the pieces around him aren't exceptional. He's got Julian Edelman, who's a solid number one, but then your number two is now N'Keal Harry, a big rookie who had relatively unimpressive to decent year last year. And then you've got a whole running back roulette of injury-prone Sony Michel, Damian Harris, rookie, injury-prone touchdown guy Rex Burkhead, hybrid wide receiver, basically, James White. And I don't know what to think, but I like that his first game is against Miami. You could not have asked for a softer matchup to start the season. I worry later in the season, the Patriots have the hardest schedule in the league this year, but Cam week one, we'll see if he's going to be Superman or not. It's going to be interesting. And finally, our last piece of news. Boy. Well, Mitchell Trubisky's the starter for week one.
Is that good?
Okay. That's kind of just my reaction to this whole situation. It's like, I've heard that him and Foles, the news coming out of camp was that they were dead even. Foles was more consistent, but what's his name? Trubisky was having little flirts with really, really nice plays in practice, coming down to the wire. And I mean, Trubisky getting announced as a starter doesn't surprise me, being that it doesn't shock me in the sense that he's a guy you spent a second pick on, even though you could have got him at 3, I'm pretty sure. You spent the second pick in the draft on, you declined his 5th-year option. It's a contract year for him. And if he goes down, you've got one of the best backups in the league because for some reason he's always great as a backup quarterback. And one of my friends made the point, see, Trubisky needs to get injured and then we'll get super Foles. It makes, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. And I trust Nagy. And we get to start the season against Detroit. So it could have been a lot worse. Okay. That's my reaction. Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would agree from a business standpoint. Yeah, you put Trubisky in.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, you know what? They just signed Foles. He's really good. He has been really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's typically consistent and solid. And so I'm thinking, you know what? Why didn't they put in Nick Foles?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't trust Matt Nagy. But it's good for the Bears that they're not playing the Packers first week like they normally do.
Yeah, that's not. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. Well, that's pretty much everything with the NFL, unless you got something else for us, Cade.
I mean, nothing really more on players or anything, but it's honestly just been surprising to me how many small moves or small additions to teams have been made, especially younger players. I mean, it's been interesting. Maybe, but yeah.
Yep. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap us up for another episode of the one and only Allied Rivals podcast. Quick update. Toronto and Boston are locked at 49 at halftime, which has been very, very curious. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in as usual. Thank you, Lightning Bauer, for leaving a comment. Also, I'm so sorry I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you love Ronaldo. Totally understandable. I totally get it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll try to shorten down the videos a little bit so it'll be a little bit easier to listen to. We go check out our other videos about NBA reactions and NFL reactions to other things around the league. And we'll see you next time. Cademan, do you got anything you want to say?
I mean, I'm at my grandparents' house, so I don't have anything to pull out from behind me, like any sports stuff. But if you want to pull something out, please do.
All right. Sticking with the same theme of the last 3 weeks. This is one of my favorite comic books ever. Black Panther's Avengers of the New World. I have this one, and this is part 2. I have the one before this. This is one of my favorite comic books of all time. Not my ultimate favorite, but it's very, very good. I really enjoyed this one, and this is part of the reason why I love Black Panther so much. And sticking with the theme of the last 3 weeks, I just felt it was appropriate to bring that out as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in. I'm AJ Herschel, the Kid. This is Allied Rivals. I do know what podcast I'm on. We'll try to get a theme song and more next time.